Hey guys, this is Jamie. So today I'm gonna actually be talking, I'll be focusing more on an incident that happened to me. And I wouldn't necessarily call it transphobia or anything. I just feel like sometimes the trans community moves a bit further rather than everyone else does. So it's not that people don't keep up with the times, it's more like we evolve a lot. And as we sort of discover ourselves, we find more ways that we feel more comfortable, ways to express ourselves, and etc. And yes, I'm bold now. I've accepted that I'm bold. So yeah. So I go to university, which is pretty much obvious, I guess, because I talk about it. But anyway, after class, I do have to say that I do not remember if that was the girl who I talked to once or not, because I have a very bad facial sort of face memory, and it's actually a disorder. So basically, sometimes I will not simply remember people's faces. So this girl walks up to me after class, and I was talking that back in my youth years, I wouldn't be able to like express myself for clothing because it was very difficult. And she walks up to me and she's like, "Hey, sorry, I wanted to ask you, what are your pronouns?" And mind you, this was in Portuguese. What the Portuguese language factually does not have gender neutral pronouns. Um, and she asked me for pronouns, and there's this sort of like specific, uh, I'd say, sort of phrase you say when you want to, you say male pronouns in Portuguese or like masculine pronouns. So I replied to that, and then I said, I'm a binary guy. To which she said, "Oh, you're non-binary," and she got all excited and everything. And I said, "No, no, no, I'm binary. I'm just, trying to explain what I am." And I could see that she pretty much lost interest, and I was like, "Yeah, I just, dye my nails and had my nails dyed that day. I always do, but whatever." And she kind of just deflated and left. So there wasn't no hello. I understand that it was after class. We didn't interact during that class, so I felt really weird at the time. And I do understand that back in the day, or like maybe to this day, very often people do tend to sort of say, "Hey, these are my pronouns," and it felt weird also because uh like, for instance, in that class, I mostly hang around my Brazilian peers rather than my Portuguese peers. And when it comes to like my Brazilian peers, uh, which are more sort of, I don't know. I guess we're quite in a queer generation. Let's be real. And it's psychology, so everyone's fucking gay at this point. Like, I've lost count of how many classmates I've seen on Grindr. So it was interesting that the Brazilian ones don't really care and never really care. Well, the Portuguese kind of, because Portuguese society, as far as I understand or as far as I can see, is more sort of progressive than the Brazilian one. Um, it comes with the consequence that people want to be too friendly about it. So you kind of want to make everything a safe space, but at the same time, I'm like a stealth guy. Like, I do understand that how to put this, like, if you ask me point blank, this was the first time when someone asked me point blank, I said I'm a guy, like, that's it, because I didn't want to give out my stealthness or whatever you want to call it. I don't really see myself much stealth, but it just felt uncomfortable to the point where I was like, yeah. For instance, I had a gender class last year with the same teacher, actually. She's a great teacher. And I came out to that class while I was doing an example so that people could understand, trans issues and stuff and certain things we face in society. And I didn't get that treatment, or I didn't get anyone like asking my pronouns or anything. So it was kind of weird for someone to just approach me who I haven't talked to, I believe, or I've maybe talked to like once, to approach me out of the blue after class and say, hey, what are your pronouns? And then after seeing that apparently me being a binary guy in makeup isn't satisfactory, just leave felt very odd. I didn't even get the chance to ask back the pronouns, even though I truly believe that's just female, from what I see. And I understand that we assume things and etc. But I feel like that's what it should be. Like, I mean, it's fine to ask pronouns, but I think there should be like a right time and place. Like, for instance, I know that, well, at least a few years back, I know that Judith Butler starts their class by talking about their pronouns and then asking everyone else. And that I read that when it was already kind of not that popular to talk about pronouns. Like, we put them in Twitter bios, obviously, and I think it's a good way, and it's a good way specifically for people who are like non-transitioning, are waiting to transition, and any other, and in general trans support, especially like on the internet where there's far more homophobia and transphobia. And I also want to say that please obviously keep in mind I come from Eastern Europe. I moved here, well, because I wanted to, and also out of necessity, because if I were to live where I lived, I wouldn't be alive. And I was feeling quite reflective in general. Like, I really feel like people sort of assume that everything is well and together, and, well, things aren't always like that. And as much as I advocate, like, yeah, move out, it's gonna be easier, and etc., it's really not. Because at the same time, you do miss the family that still keeps in touch with you. You still, like, for instance, because I'm a native Russian speaker as well as, well, English. Obviously, in Portugal, I go by talking Portuguese. And obviously, I talk to my partner in English because we met back in Scotland like many, many years ago. And we've been talking English ever since. But when it comes to everyone else, it's pretty much Portuguese besides like a close friend of mine. And I don't speak Russian to anyone besides relatives at this point. So I do get like missing and everything, the language or like interactions. So yeah, this is kind of like a mashed up video from what I see, but what I wanted to say was, even though I am venting on this specific situation where I think it's inappropriate to walk up to a person and ask their pronouns, it's still better than fucking being dead, you know? And kind of sort of coming full circle, that I understand that my problem is minuscule in the sense of like a broader picture, or even in the broader sense of my life. So yeah. I mean, I know that a lot of people prefer to speak about their pronouns. And also, like in Portuguese, I know, like, for instance, in written, you can use neutral. But when it comes to specifically speaking it out loud, it's not as used as much as it is in emails. And I believe it's the same for Spanish, roughly. But again, I can speak more from the Portuguese perspective. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of document, talk about this incident, talk about certain experiences, and show off my new lipstick. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you enjoy seeing my face, please subscribe. That'd be nice. Thank you very much.